Hi, my name is Savannah. I am currently an employee of Merck Sharp and Dome, LLC, a subsidiary of Merck and Company, Incorporated, Rahway, New Jersey, USA. The opinions or perspectives expressed today do not represent the opinions or perspectives of my employer.
Welcome everybody to Pharmacy Pathways. I have here my friend Savannah Duke, and we go back to UNC Pharmacy School together, and it has been great to catch up and see what you've been doing in your life and the things that are exploding for you, and not just your professional, but your personal life. And I have brought her here today. She has agreed to come here today and talk to us about her journey to her Medical Science Liaison position. And her journey is not the standard journey. So she's going to share with us the traditional pathway that most people take into this type of career, but then she's going to let us know exactly what hers looked like and how people who have the non-traditional starts and journeys can still make it into this industry and be very successful without going through the standard procedures. So without further ado, I introduce to you Miss Savannah, Dr. Savannah.
Oh, no need for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Savannah Duke. Like Dominique said, we were classmates back at UNC, and it's really great to see you again. So, as Dominique said, my role is Medical Science Liaison. So, where I work, it's actually called Regional Medical Scientific Associate Director. But for the purposes of this talk, when I talk about my role, it is the role of the MSL.
Yes, and that's the acronym that we're most familiar with. But for those who are, checking it out because they know about the acronym, but they don't really know what that entails, can you break down what a medical science liaison does? What does that role usually entail?
Sure. And I forgot to mention, across different companies, the role is really called a lot of different things, just like how I said my role has a different name. So sometimes it's called field medical director, sometimes it's called regional medical scientific director. But so for the purposes of the MSL role overall, the primary role of the MSL is to engage with experts in the field and provide scientific and research support. So what that means is providing clinical and scientific information that in the end helps them treat their patients, give them the best treatment options, the best strategies, but then also support their research interests, if they have interest in a particular patient population, or if there's an unmet need that they are looking to know more about or to study, we also help them with those endeavors as well.
If the MSL position didn't exist, how would that impact right now the world of pharmacy or the world of patient care?
Yeah. It's a really important role because we don't really understand what those unmet needs are unless we have those conversations with the people, the very people who are treating these patients, who are with them day in and day out. And so having that collaboration with the pharmaceutical industry and the provider, we're able to have those robust clinical scientific discussions and hear what their thoughts are on the treatment landscape, what's missing. And without innovative therapies and having those discussions, then there won't be new treatment options for patients. So really, it's the cutting edge of research and science and bringing all those together to eventually improve patient care through innovative treatment options.
And so you are getting the qualitative data, the patient reports, and they're being filtered up the chain. And then you are reporting that to your agency where you work, and then they're understanding where the gaps are, giving them the opportunity to fill those in.
Exactly.
And how did you get exposed to the MSL role? When did you know this was even a job that you could do?
Yeah, it's a very unique role. So I actually did an internship at another company when I was in pharmacy school. And I had the opportunity to go on a ride along with an MSL. So what that looks like is you're in the car with them and you are going to a practice site. So this was a clinical, it was like a community site. And so I went along with this MSL and I got to see him. I was there as he gave a scientific presentation to a broader practice. But then afterwards, he had a scientific discussion with the primary physician at that site. And the discussion that he had was just so over my head And of course, I was a student, I was an intern, so of course. But it was so over my head, but it was so intriguing to see this engagement between the MSL and the physician who's treating their patients and how they collaborated in order to come to a conclusion of what is missing in this field. And after we had that conversation, I'm thinking, this is important work. There are patients out there that have no treatment options. And who is doing that work to bring those treatment options to patients? It's the MSLs who are having those robust conversations because it's a peer-to-peer relationship. And I could really tell that that physician, we call them scientific leaders or SLs, that he saw the MSL as a peer. He saw him as an equal. We're talking back and forth about this very specific patient population and the unmet needs that are within that patient population.
You shared like on the broad scope, like what your role is in the industry, but so how are you functioning on the day to day?
Sure.
To get these things done? What is your day to day, your week to week look like usually?
Yeah. So it really depends. It varies. And that's what I love about it so much is sometimes I'm on the road like I am right now here in the DC area, meeting with several different SLs. But then sometimes I'm at home doing administrative work, documenting the things that they're saying, doing my training, because there's always new data coming out. And so we have to stay up to date on that. And so we have journal clubs and we talk about things like that are coming down the pipeline and then also new data that's coming out. And then there's also just general training that you have with any job, like compliance and things like that. And so it's a mix of travel on the road and at home having virtual meetings with some of these SLs. I forgot to mention it could be virtual or face-to-face. It doesn't always have to be driving to that particular area. And then that administrative work as well, which it sounds boring, but it's actually kind of fun because you get to basically outline what this SL's thought processes are when it comes to our data, when it comes to their patients, when it comes to things that they think really should be incorporated in the field.
And what is a SL?
The scientific leader.
Okay, scientific leader, which is a physician.
So it's typically, it could be anybody that treats patients, but one thing that I forgot to mention is as an MSL, most of the time you have a roster of scientific leaders who you determine are going to provide the information, who are interested in research. There are people that are identified by their conference attendance, giving talks at conferences, what they're publishing as it relates to the area that you cover. So for example, if you cover oncology, you would be meeting mostly with oncologists, not just medical oncologists, but maybe also surgeons, radiation oncologists, those types of people who are involved in the treatment experience for the patient. And so they're identified through those avenues, and usually they don't always have to have influence. They don't always have to be like a guideline committee member. In fact, a lot of what we see is that a lot of the community oncologists are not accessed because they are so busy. They cover so many different types of diseases and they don't really have the bandwidth to be involved in research. But those are the very ones that we really want to meet with because a lot of times they don't have time to stay up to date on the data. And so that's a big part of my role, is making sure that these SLs have the information they need to treat their patients the best they can.
So it's a trade-off. You're not just getting information from them.
Exactly.
They see benefit with meeting with you too.
Yes. Whether through research or through that scientific exchange. So say you have this very busy cardiologist is one of your SLs, and he didn't have time to go to the conference that happened a month ago. And there was some really big data that like really changed his practice, but he was just so busy he didn't get a chance to see it. So as an MSL, if you're a cardiology MSL, you would want to make sure that they had that information so that the next patient they go see, they can discuss that information with the patient, see if that's the best treatment option for them, whatever that is. and just making sure they have the information they need. So it's really helpful to have that engagement. And I forgot to mention, this is a really important part of the role, is that it is not a promotional role. So we are not selling anything. We are not promoting anything. It is completely non-biased scientific exchange.
I like that, scientific exchange. And so you mentioned that you can be in the oncology space, you can be in the cardiology space. I know people who are in hematology and immunology. So how many specialties can
The
we
list
get
goes
into?
on. So there are not only just therapeutic areas, but there's also biomarker MSLs who are
Really?
working with certain tests and AI type things. They're working with the physicians to see how they can incorporate that into their practice. So it's not just drugs, and sometimes it's technologies, sometimes it's medical equipment or things like that, that they're looking to see what the physician's appetite is on that certain thing in their practice. There's MSLs for all those different types of diseases, and sometimes an MSL will cover multiple of them. Depending on, and it really depends on that company's pipeline, right? So if a company is really strong in cardiology, infectious diseases, and vaccines, then they'll probably have an MSL covering all those different therapeutic areas.
Is it safe to say that if there is a drug on the market in a certain therapeutic area, that there's probably MSL behind it somewhere?
Most likely. And even if it's not even on the market and it's coming through and the company's about to submit an application for registration, there's usually a team of medical affairs. That's usually what the MSL is within medical affairs. Within most companies is what it's supporting that launch as well. So, yes, broadly speaking, most likely not every company has MSLs, but most do.
Okay, that's good to know, because if they're in pharmacy school, if they're already in a certain practice and already in the field and they already drawn to that, they can start looking into potential MSL roles in the field that they already like.
Right. So if they know a company, if they know they love oncology and there's a company right down the road that they know has a drug in oncology, there's probably an MSL or many MSLs that are across the country. And one thing I forgot to mention, and it is territory based most of the time. And so you'll cover a region of the country, a couple states, maybe several states. Some MSLs cover the entire East Coast. So that's why if you don't like travel, this is not the job for you, because it is a lot of travel. But where I was going with that is that if you have a particular interest in a therapeutic area, you want to find a company that has a product in that space. You won't be promoting that product. And when I say product, that's a heavy word because we're not promoting the sale of it, but we're promoting the research and scientific exchange that goes on behind the scenes to get that product into the clinic and benefit as many patients as possible.
If somebody is interested in it, it's your job to make them the most informed that they can be to make the right decision.
Sure.
Even if that means that they determine it's not the best direction to go.
Right.
Which is good for you as well, because then we're not having poor outcomes in patients. So it's helping everyone on the broad level.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I want to ask, like, what are the expectations of like the performance for an MSL when these companies are hiring you on? I'm sure they want to see some type of performance to, like every job, support us being here and getting a salary. So what are the like performance expectations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So broadly for the MSL role, it's going to be a mix of quantitative and qualitative aspects. So quantitative, you're meeting with that roster of SLs. It looks different at different companies, but honestly, the qualitative part is the most important part. It's what information are you getting? What information are you bringing back to shape the medical strategy of that particular company? So really, you're being measured on your not necessarily the number of meetings you're getting, but the type of information that you're getting from those meetings.
The quality
of those meetings and the information that you're getting. And so with that, how do you be successful? So you're asking questions. You're asking, I like to call them calibrated questions. So you're not saying, what do you think about this data? You're not just asking that. You're saying, what about this data is going to change how you treat your patients? What type of data do you want to see? That type of information is very valuable if you have an SL who really does see the value of that data and they can really see it being incorporated into their practice.
Because I'm sure sometimes it's, well, a lot of our patients stop these medications because of this side effect.
Sure.
And this drug doesn't cause that, or it's significantly less.
That is an important piece of information.
Yeah, I would be utilizing this a lot more because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is important information. Okay. And any other things that you said qualitative. That was an example of qualitative. What about like a quantitative metric?
Yeah. So like I said, it looks different depending on what company you are working with, but it could look like the percentage of face-to-face meetings versus virtual meetings. Most companies do want you to be face-to-face because there is, as we can see, a value of meeting face-to-face. Like, we're in person, we're not on a Zoom call. Like, you really can understand someone's body language and kind of get a feel for like how they really actually feel about the discussion when you're in person. And so most companies, now that COVID is kind of behind us, I don't know why I said we, but there is a push to be more in person.
Yeah.
And with that, it's important to make sure you're following up with these SLs a certain number of times a year, and it's
maintaining
that discussion and that collaboration with those SLs. And so the roster is part of the quantitative, maintaining a certain number of SLs and then meeting with them a certain number of times a year.
Okay. And what would a successful yearly performance look like compared to somebody who maybe didn't do what they were supposed to do that year, wasn't very effective?
Sure. Yeah. So say a person is like, staying at home and they're not, actually going and seeing their SLs. They're not engaging with those institutions and those SLs. And also, like, say they are going out engaging with these people, but they're not really bringing in information that's shaping the medical strategy. They're not really helping the SLs. They're not really providing value to them, because we want to provide value or else they won't want to continue meeting with us. And so it's really important to keep that connection there. So I guess the difference between a successful MSL and maybe like a mediocre one is that the successful is they're meeting with their target rosters at the certain amount of times that they should be. They're going out in the field. They're engaging with these people. They're bringing in very valuable insights. They're also providing value for the SL. They're providing research opportunities for the SL.
Yeah.
The mediocre may not be providing as much information, or maybe they are just not getting. Sometimes it's really hard to meet with these people, and it's hard because say your SLs are just really busy. It's like, does that impact your performance? Sometimes, yeah.
So you have to actually get them to agree. They have to say yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so sometimes it may not be your fault.
Right.
They're just not receptive to the offers.
Right. And so on the successful MSL is going to break down those barriers and find ways to meet with them. So being creative. So are they going to be at a conference coming up? Hey, maybe I'll go to that conference and try to go talk to them, right? So it's not always, I'm going to come to your practice. Like, I'm going to find ways to, I'm not going to stalk this person by any means, but you have to be creative. You have to think outside of the box. And I think that is when I know we'll talk about the hiring process, and I'm not a hiring manager, but I do know that it takes a very special person, a go-getter, to really get these people to want to meet with you. And because they're not going to be banging down your door by any means.
Yeah.
So,
I can imagine. And we're also going to talk about that a little bit more, like what
mm-hmm,
skill sets, personality wise,
sure.
you really need to
Mm-hmm,
heavy lift like this type of role. You said it requires you to be a go-getter.
mm-hmm,
Um, the questions that you're asking, the calibrated questions,
mm-hmm.
is that something that is taught? Is that something where they can train you how to be strategic in the way that you're asking questions, or is this kind of like you either have this, this strategic approach or you don't?
Right. Yeah. So the training that you go through as an MSL is mostly therapeutic area training, but
Okay.
most, and it's hard to speak for other companies, but there is an art to the MSL role.
Yes.
And it does involve that level of emotional intelligence and being able to ask those questions. And yes, within your training, you're usually shadowing experienced MSLs who do have a very good grasp of how to get really good questions on the table
Mm-hmm.
and and therefore get good because what is it, your input, your output can only be as good as your input. So you're
Mm.
inputting a good question, you're getting an output of an answer that is
Yeah.
helpful for the company and the SL as well. So really, while the training is mostly focused on the therapeutic area that you're covering,
Mm-hmm.
there are trainings like, I mentioned that I have lots of trainings when I'm not traveling or in the field that involve ways to answer those or ways to ask those questions, which type
Mm-hmm.
of questions are important, because sometimes there are like priorities that the company will have that they
Mm-hmm.
want to hear about XYZ.
Yeah.
So understanding which questions are important for the company, but also which ones are important for the SL.
Yeah.
So it really takes experience. I wouldn't say you're born with the ability to ask these questions, but the more experience you get and the more, I guess as a newer MSL myself, the more people that I shadow and I see what type of questions that they're asking, I can really incorporate that into my
Mm-hmm.
work as well.
You're picking it up by seeing
Right.
others do it well.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all good stuff. And you also shared that you have territories.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get a whole coast, others might get a couple of states. So what does that look like then for like your balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
How often is the average MSL usually traveling
Mm-hmm.
versus doing their virtual
Yeah, yeah.
in-home or even on-base training?
Mm-hmm. It really depends, honestly. So the thing I love about this job is that you kind of create your own schedule. So if I have, say, a conference in one state and I'm already going to be there, then I may try to see some SLs that are in that area so that I can make the most of that travel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a lot of it is like, territory management. So
Mm-hmm.
making the most of your travel, making the most of who you're going to see based on when data is coming out. So do we have surgical outcomes coming out? I might want to go see some surgeons in a particular
Mm-hmm.
area. But am I going to drive from one state like 5 hours away to meet with this other person the next day? Probably not. I'll probably meet with one virtually and maybe three in that other
Mm-hmm.
state that they're
Yeah.
all kind of uh, in.
Yeah.
And so, really, it's kind of up to you to make your own travel plans. Like, no one is making them for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's more kind of around data releases. Maybe I want to meet with, like I said, those particular groups where they're
Mm-hmm.
concentrated. And so it really depends on the company's initiative, but also maybe your availability. Maybe you're getting married and you have a certain amount of time that you don't really want to be traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Then, okay, maybe I'll set up some meetings for like a week after I get back from that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have virtual meetings in the interim. So you can really work it around your life, which is really, really great. And it's a definite advantage to the role.
That's really cool. On the days that you're at home doing admin days to that point, is there like an expectation to be online from 9 to 5, 8 to 4, or is it just get your work done? When you get it done, I
Yeah.
don't care, just
Yeah.
get it done.
I would say more the latter, but obviously you are a full-time employee of that company, and so it is your duty to be available for, various questions that may come up. So it's not just meeting with SLs. There's a lot of research that gets supported, and so there's questions that come up with that. There's a lot of other things that are happening in the background. And so while it's not like a typical 9 to 5, you are expected to be on during the day, during the work hours. But another thing about the job that is people don't really think about is that a lot of your work is done at night because you're, staying in a hotel and you've been in meetings all day and you have to document those meetings. And so a lot of it is not just during the day where you're working. Like a lot of times I'm up at night preparing, there's pre-meeting planning, getting ready for a meeting, especially if I have not met with that SL. I want to make sure I understand their research interests. I want to make sure I understand what conferences they're going to. Get a good idea of who this person is, who I'm walking into this discussion with. And so there is a lot of, late night hours, but overall there's a balance, and you can kind of make that balance yourself.
Okay, so that is something else we need to be good at, not just interpreting studies, reading them, but also researching the people that we are going to be encountering.
Right.
Because like you shared earlier, you need to know, like, not who's worth your time, but like, where will my time be best invested?
Exactly.
It's your job to know that, to find that information. You're not being given like a folder
Nope.
and then just you have to do that that digging.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Intel. You're kind of figuring out, what is this person interested in? Because why would they want to talk to you if you're not going to talk about things they're interested in? Like, am I going to go talk to a GI specialist about melanoma? Nope, because they don't care about that, right? They want to know about CRC or, gastric cancer, right?
Yeah.
So it's really making sure you're meeting with the right people. And with that, you're able to ask those questions that are important to them, things that make them tick, things that they feel like are not being addressed in the field. And so the more you get to know that person, the more you get to know what they're interested in and where you can go from there in terms of research, in terms of uncovering these unmet needs and bringing that insight, bring those insights, we call them insights, the information that they are telling us that could impact our strategy, our medical strategy, those are insights.
I mean, they are, the name is in the name.
Yeah.
I like it. And when we're doing all of our research, I want to ask again, just for the audience, were you trained how to appropriately research, like what to look for, the best strategy to do that? Because that's a skill in itself.
Yeah.
Is that something that is trained?
I think yes, in a way. It's not like a formal, like, this is what you do, but they provide you the resources and they show you kind of how to use those resources, at least in my experience. In order to look up these certain people, there are websites that allow you to see like what their research. I mean, you can look on PubMed, you can do anything like that. There's lots of creative ways to get to understand what about this person. And so, yes, overall, I would say they give you the tools that you need, but it's kind of up to you to use the tools in a way that is going to help you understand the person and then kind of manage your territory in that way.
So you're getting a lot of on the job training, and you're able to, if you're paying attention, you're going to pick up fast. And we talked about the autonomy piece. Well, we didn't specifically say it, but it's very autonomous in nature. You're essentially calling the shots. You know what you need to do, and then they let you do what you need to do in order to get it done. Now that's one of the attractive qualities of the MSL role. I also know that salary is also one of them. People are just really drawn to the, I get to make a good living. I get to, create my schedule. I get to have a lot of autonomy. But what are some drawbacks? You already shared the late night. Sometimes you're up pretty late, depending on the circumstance. What are some other drawbacks that people are probably not seeing when we take off the rose-colored glasses?
Right.
Excuse me. I hope you don't mind if I cut in for a moment.
Hurry up.
Number one, thank you for watching. I hope you're learning something new in this episode. Number two, which is the reason I'm here, is if you don't mind, could you be so kind and like this video or hit the subscribe button?
I mean, I've always subscribed.
By subscribing, you're letting YouTube know that my content is providing you value, and that ultimately helps the channel grow and reach more people who need to hear these conversations. Oh, and one more thing. Hurry up! You can also subscribe to the Pharmacy Pathways newsletter to get access to exclusive episode content. Newsletters go out in the same week of the episode. You'll receive a structured summary of each interview, expanded guest bios, and exclusive sneak peeks of future episodes. Subscribe at pharmacypathways.org. Link is in the description. Okay, let's get you back to the show.
Yeah. So honestly, there is a lot of gray in the role. So there's a lot of like, can I say this? Can I say that? Because as I said, this is a very non-promotional role. And so anything you say could be taken as a promotional thing. And so you have to act within compliance. And within that, there is a lot of gray. And so sometimes it can be very intimidating on, you're meeting with someone and you don't know exactly what you can say. And so I'm still in that bucket where I'm new to the role and sometimes I'm still learning on the things that I can say, the questions that I can ask. So that's one thing. And then also, we kind of mentioned it, but these people are not going to be banging down your door to meet with them. And so a lot of times you kind of set the expectation of, hey, it might take me a while to get some meetings. It might take a while because I don't have a relationship established with these people yet. And so it can really be really discouraging when you are sending out all these emails and you're not hearing anything back. And so really, again, a lot of the skill set of an MSL is being creative and adapting and being agile to the situations that you have. So maybe this person is not answering me because they have an admin and I need to figure out who that person is so that I can get access to them. Or maybe they just generally don't want to meet, but you don't have to take that no as a final answer. You take that as, okay, it's no right now. I'm going to maybe run into them at a conference and I'll go try to see them.
Yeah.
And so I guess another thing I could add is that if you are not naturally willing to go up to someone that you don't know, it might not be the job for you. You kind of have to have that ability to strike up a conversation with someone. I mean, a lot of these people, especially when you first start, are complete strangers and they know a lot more than you. And so having that, being able to have that emotional intelligence and being able to read the room and figuring out the best way to access this person, the best way to get them to be interested in meeting with me is challenging. And I don't think it's something that you're just born with. I think it's something that you eventually learn how to adapt. It's like I said, it's not a black and white role. It's very ambiguous. There are a lot of questions that you won't know the answer to. There are a lot of things that you just don't understand because they're so high level. And you've got to go back and make sure you understand those things.
Okay, so they need to be very resilient. You have to be a people person.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have to have
You can't
above average people skills.
Yes.
Okay.
For the most part. And that doesn't mean that you have to be like, I consider myself an introvert, truly. Like at the end of the day, I'm ready to just sit on my couch with my dog and my husband and just, I would like to have a glass of wine, but I can't right now. But, just kind of tune out, and I get my energy from being at home and relaxing. But you don't have to, you can still be an introvert and still be good at the job. So being an extroverted introvert but you don't have
I'm
to,
the same.
Right. You don't have to be like an extrovert to be good at the job, but I think it helps if you are
If you can at
naturally good.
least flip a switch on
Right.
in your brain, it says,
Exactly.
okay, we're doing this right
Yeah.
now. And then when you come home, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're so tired and drained.
Right.
But like nobody knows.
And some people get energy from those types of things,
They do.
which I do. I do temporarily. Like this morning, I had a really great discussion with the surgeon, and I was like amped. I'm like, this is a great information. I cannot wait to document this and see how we can help patients with this information.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying if I wasn't telling you I'm ready to go home and take a nap.
I know. Because she planned out this podcast for one of her trips.
Yes.
Because she works her schedule like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, even after recording these, I'm beat.
No,
And
I
like
can
you have all
understand.
this adrenaline in the moment,
sure.
and then your body's like, oh, that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot of talking.
Yes.
So they need to have those basic, skills, qualities in place, and at least willing to push past your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then researching, you should probably want to enjoy reading clinical trials and studies and being relatively strong in that area of interpretation. What are some other skill sets? You said traveling already.
Yeah, being a road warrior. I don't know if that's a skill or just being comfortable on the road, being comfortable staying maybe multiple nights away from your family. During conference season, sometimes I'll be away for a week at a time. And so it's being comfortable with kind of that, you don't know what your week is going to look like because sometimes things pop up, but a lot of times you can plan for it. Like a conference, those are planned years in advance. But so being a road warrior, being comfortable with change. There's a lot of change that happens. You mentioned the journal articles and research, it's always changing. And so it's up to us to stay up to date on those things because that's what the SLs need is for us to be up to date on that.
The most recent.
Right.
The most recent information.
But speaking of, one thing that we haven't mentioned is that deep therapeutic area experience. So not only do you need to be curious and stay up to date with all the information, but most hiring managers within companies that are hiring, they want to see that you have a certain number of years of experience in that therapeutic area. Because like I mentioned, there is training in the therapeutic area, but you also want to have an already deep foundation within that therapeutic area because topics get flown around in discussions with SLs that aren't even things that you have been trained on. So sometimes you're really depending on your background knowledge to not to show them that you understand it, but to be able to contribute to the conversation. To relate to them. Right, exactly. So if you're someone who had experience working in a clinic already, in a primary care clinic, and you're managing patients with hypertension, and then you become an MSL of one of the ACE inhibitors. I don't know, that's one of your assets that you cover. It really helps that you had that clinical experience because you're able to speak to, oh, these are the guidelines I used. Maybe at that time the cutoff was different, but you're able to contribute to the conversation in a way that the SL can relate to you because you were involved in that patient care, or you did research in that area, or you just have that background knowledge. And so you're able to take those skills and translate them to, speaking with the very providers who are prescribing those things.
So this is really good stuff for them to think about because they need to know if they have the personality to even enjoy this type of job, the circumstances in place that allow them to do this, if they are equipped to be successful, and then also what they might want to be planning for if they're not yet in a specific therapeutic area. That might be something that you want to think about doing if you eventually want to become an MSL. What's the average amount of years that they're looking for in a therapeutic area?
It really depends. I would say at least 2 to 3.
Okay.
But it really, like, again, it really depends. Like if they're building out a new team and they're looking for people with like various types of experiences, sometimes they'll take someone, that has maybe like, so let's talk about oncology. So maybe someone who worked in breast cancer, but they're applying for a lung cancer position. Now, those aren't the same thing, but you're kind of within the same area. They're not managed the same, but the way of thinking in oncology, especially solid tumors, is a lot of transferable knowledge there. And so maybe that breast cancer experience could be considered experience for that lung cancer position. And so like building out a new team, they may take people that have really deep research experience and someone who has really deep clinical experience and build a team that is very diverse. Now,
That's a good point.
yeah, but now like when you're saying backfilling a position or someone got promoted and you're trying to fill a position, they may be looking for a very specific thing of someone who has 5 years lung cancer experience and that's it. Like that's what they want. And that's all. They won't take anybody with less. They would love for you to have more. The more the better. And so it really, really depends, but I would say generally about 2 to 3 years, but and I should say this, but it doesn't have to be clinical practice and it doesn't have to be research. Like so I came from medical writing within oncology and I covered broad ranges of tumors, and the role that I am in now is tumor specific to 2 tumors. And did I work in those 2 tumors all the time? No, but I had about 5 years of experience working across the pipeline, and so that experience it can come from really anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be working directly with those patients in the clinic.
It doesn't have to be in a clinic, in a hospital.
Right.
You just need to be clinically sound in that therapeutic area.
Being able to speak to data as well. So not just knowing the information, like knowing how to treat these patients, but also knowing how to speak to the endpoints. And, all the things that we did in pharmacy school through a journal club, like the endpoints, what they mean is it clinically significant? Is it statistically significant? Do those things translate to each other?
Yeah.
Having all those conversations.
And medical writing, that is what you do. You have to be able to interpret and package the relevant information to the audience.
Exactly.
And you, as an MSL, you have to adjust your language for your audience all the time. How you're probably engaging with someone at a conference versus maybe meeting them at their office is likely different. You're adjusting the dynamic as well.
Yeah.
So all of these things are super important. So just understanding what skills do I have? What am I currently doing? Can I translate these over into moving closer to this role? And if not, then they now know what they can be thinking about.
Exactly. There's a lot of other things. I mean, it's very, and the role can look different at different places, but overall you want to be really strong scientifically and being a person that can communicate data and have good conversations and bring back insights.
With that being said, I want us to transition into the interview process.
Let's talk about the interview.
So, for context, she's not going to talk about specific, interviews. She's just going to give the lay of the land and like what the typical structure looks like, because they have a similar structure in the industry. And so she's going to tell us what that's like for those of you who are wondering, how to break in and how to do really well in the interview process. You actually can now learn how to prepare for that, be best prepared if you don't know someone who can coach you directly right now. So I would like you to just give us, before we go into each of the phases, can you just share what the phases are?
Yeah. And before we get into that, I'll just say I'm not an expert. I'm not a hiring manager. All of this is from my experience, and I have been on the hiring side before, but for other roles. So I can speak to my experience interviewing for an MSL role and what, in general, pharmaceutical industries or pharmaceutical companies are looking for.
Yes.
From the hiring side. So with that, for the MSL role, here it is. Mostly, it's going to follow this pattern, and it could look different depending on where you're interviewing, but from my experience, it has followed a very consistent flow of, number one, you'll apply, obviously. A recruiter will reach out to you on behalf of the company, and typically this will be a phone screen. It could be over video, but mostly over the phone. They'll email you, they'll reach out a time to talk. And so you'll talk over the phone with the recruiter. And really what this conversation consists of is just kind of like, do you fit the job description for the most part? So anything from your years of experience to your expectations for a salary. So my best advice for this stage is to, and overall, treat every part of the process as an interview. Even though the recruiter is not the hiring manager, before the recruiter even got your name, the hiring manager likely had already shortlisted you. So the hiring manager is probably already interested in you.
Shortlisted means?
Shortlisting means they took your name, your resume, out of the pile of a pile of applications and said, recruiter, I want you to screen this person.
Okay.
So the recruiter and the hiring manager have a direct line of communication. So no burning bridges there. Like, you really want to treat it as an interview. So if you're on camera, you want to look nice, like you're treating it like a real interview. So with that, coming with questions for the recruiter. So asking, questions. They may not be able to answer questions about the pipeline. That's okay. But questions about the managerial style of the hiring manager. Because things like that, may impact you're also interviewing the company. You want to also, this is a big job change for you if you're coming from practice to MSL role. So you want to make sure that, you're applying to a role that you actually will be interested in.
Hold on. So you can ask the recruiter, like, what the style is of the hiring manager?
Yeah, of course.
I've never even thought of doing that at that. Normally I wait until I'm in front of that person, but I mean, like...
Yeah, and that could be maybe better, but the hiring manager is going to tell you what you want to hear most of the time, right? The recruiter may be able to tell you, oh, in the past, they've been very hands-on, they're very helpful with your training, things like that. They're going to be honest with you, right?
But I'm sure that sets you apart, because now you're coming in with, like, I also have expectations,
right,
of this role.
As you should.
It's not just, I'm not just groveling for the position. I want to know how I'll be treated in this.
Sure. Yeah, and a question they may ask you, to your point, is, why are you applying to this job?
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to come off as, I'm running away from my current position. I'm running towards your position. But in that way, you're not coming off as desperate, because if you're running away from a position, it's very obvious. You're like, I'm tired of working late hours. I'm tired of this.
You're ready to go to McDonald's at that point.
Right? So really, you're even if you aren't super happy with your current position, you still want to, you don't want to speak negatively of what you're currently doing and why you're coming into a new position. You want to frame it in a way of, I want to provide value to patients and to SLs and things like that. And I feel like my prior experience will help me with that. So, the recruiter part is, and I mentioned the salary. So a lot of times they will ask you kind of like a general salary expectation. That question has caught me off guard, because I feel like that's always like taboo to talk about. So I think it's good to go in, have a well-researched number.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, how do you know what's normal?
So a lot of job descriptions actually do have the salary range in them.
Okay.
Some of them don't. But overall, I mean, you can look at the national average salary of an MSL, and then if you don't have any experience, then maybe obviously look at the lower end. But but have a well-researched number. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm negotiable," because that I have found that that discussion with the recruiter, it's on your file, and so that's eventually how they'll make your offer if you are offered the
Like
position.
he'll or she'll take anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? You need to give them a number. So research it, have a good number, and they may not even ask you that. But sometimes they'll even ask you like behavioral type questions.
On
So
the
yeah, even the
screening.
recruiter, sometimes they'll ask you behavioral because maybe the hiring manager has something that they specifically want. Like say,
Yeah, like a very weeding out question.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
like say like they had to let someone go because they were very rude with an SL or something like that. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
one of the situational questions would be, say you have a very difficult SL that you don't agree with and the conversation is not going well, how do you manage it? So give a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
So star format. So a lot of times the best way to answer a situational question is using the star format. So you talk about a prior experience, situation, action, task, and result.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives them an example of how you have managed a difficult meeting before, and hopefully that will translate into your success in the
Mm-hmm.
position.
Okay, so you need to study the star format and actually use it. Okay, and be ready. Basically, come to that screening call like this is it. Like prep for that.
Right.
Don't.
And if it's like a super high level thing where it's just chit chat with you and the recruiter and they're like, "Yep, you check these boxes," then great. But it's better to be prepared because the next part is number 2 is the hiring manager screening. And so typically that is
Mm-hmm.
that is a video interview with the hiring manager one on one. And so with that, you get to see the personality of the hiring manager. You can
Mm-hmm.
show them your personality and really, seriously, be yourself. Don't try to be someone you're not because that is, I mean, they're really looking for someone who's going to fit well with the team. Like,
Yeah.
not only are they've seen your resume, so they're really trying to figure out the person behind the
Yeah.
resume or the CV. So, they want to see, is this person really going to mesh well with my team?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a team role. Like we discuss all the information that we're hearing in the field. We are very collaborative. You're also working with many people apart in different parts of the company. So
Yeah.
really they want to see, is this person a good fit for not only the company but my team?
Yeah.
So again, coming with good questions like the manager style. That's a great one to ask. But then I would say the number one thing to come prepared is to, especially if you have not interviewed for an MSL role before, is why are you interviewing for this role? And with that, do you understand what an MSL is? Do you understand what they do? Right? Because that is a really important thing. If you don't
Yeah.
understand what an MSL does, if you're chasing the salary and the benefits and
And
all
the
that stuff,
title.
it
Yeah.
comes I'm sure it's very clear to the hiring managers that you're just running away from a clinical role, right?
Yeah.
So, coming with a well researched answer of when they ask you, because I've had hiring managers be like, "What is an MSL?"
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And if like you don't understand, if you think that you're,
Oh my gosh. That question is so telling at how many people show up and don't know.
a lot of people don't, like I'm telling you, it's from what I've heard. But yeah, what is an MSL? Why do you want to be an MSL? Is probably the number one thing I would make sure you have an answer for, right?
And then does it go further? And why do you want to be an MSL with
Here,
here and
right?
on this team?
On this team, maybe. Yeah, maybe. And so with that, it comes with a lot of research of the company. Obviously, you won't know the team. You might not know who's on the team,
Well,
but
oh, I meant like the
the
therapeutic
therapeutic
area.
area,
Okay.
right, right. And they're likely not going to ask you like scientific questions like what's the mechanism of action of this drug, right?
Yeah.
Like, but they may ask you, what is it about this company, about our pipeline that is interesting to you?
Yeah.
So you come prepared knowing the pipeline of that company,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's why you should be interviewing. Like you want to support a pipeline that's interesting to you, right? So understanding, like, did they have a recent press release of new data? Like, These are great things to say in an interview. Like, I saw that you had a press release of positive data from your phase 3 trial.
And you're giving specific
I'm
things,
giving,
like,
yeah, specific things. Yeah, because it shows your genuine interest and you're
yeah.
not just groveling. Like, you're saying it like, I'm genuinely interested in this, right?
And it shows that you are actively looking at data
Right.
and
Because
new
that's the
research.
role is data. It's very data.
This is a 2-for-1. Are y'all taking notes? Are you taking notes?
If you don't like data, don't be an MSL.
Yeah, do not. That's really good. Oh my gosh. So they're taking it like above and beyond, because I coach people to do similar things for any job, but this is not just
This is
even,
preparation, man.
this
This
is
is,
going beyond like
yeah,
the typical interview prep.
sure. Yeah, this is,
Okay.
I mean, they're looking for someone that's going to bring value to these really important SLs, but also
Yeah.
to the company. So,
So you are not finesse. This is not something you can finesse.
no, we're not winging it.
No. Okay.
No, we're not winging it.
And then, what did I just had something that I wanted to ask you, Savannah. Yes, here it goes. So do you know the like drugs in general that you would likely be working with if you were to be hired, so that you can look into that as well?
So you don't necessarily need to. A lot of the pipeline products may not be publicly available online.
Okay.
So having a good idea of what's already, if it's already approved, then yes, like you should
Oh yeah.
definitely be aware of the package insert of that particular thing. Do you need to memorize it? No, but yes, having a general awareness of the landscape of, or like what that company is interested in researching. And you can see all of it's publicly available on clinicaltrials.gov, all of their
Okay.
trials you can see. But honestly, um, the hiring manager doesn't expect you to already be an expert in these things. That's why there's the therapeutic area training that occurs during your training.
Okay.
But
But you need a strong
you
foundation.
want a strong foundation and you want to be curious. And so you can really go into that interview and ask, hey, I saw this trial on clinicaltrials.gov. Can you tell me a little bit about the unmet need this is serving, or maybe like what trial is the most exciting for you right now in
And
development?
Savannah, why is that an important question to ask, right?
Why is it an important
Yes,
question?
tell them why would you benefit from asking them something like that on a job interview?
So that you can have a better understanding of what you'll be supporting, right? And it shows that you're curious, and also you are having those exact conversations with scientific leaders, right? So do you
Hmm.
see the parallel between the interview and the curiosity that you're showing in the interview and the curiosity that you're showing in the scientific leader engagement meetings that you have?
Yeah.
You're going into those in student mode. Like, they're the expert.
Hmm.
I'm I know maybe a little bit about what you know, but like, please tell me what is interesting to you, what types of things we need to research. So going into the interview with
Yeah.
that same attitude and mentality is very helpful because it shows that you're coachable. It shows that you're curious.
Yep.
It shows that you care,
Hmm.
right? You care about the data, you care about where the company is going, and you believe in that mission of the company, right?
Yes. This is just music to my ears, because when I help folks with their interview process and training them for interviews, I trained anyone for MSL, but I always say the questions that you ask and the answers that you provide will automatically answer other questions that they now don't even have to ask.
Right.
They don't need to wonder, does she do her due diligence? They don't need to
Mm-hmm.
wonder, is she genuinely concerned, and is she genuinely interested in this compared to the next candidate? Because the way that you answer
Mm-hmm.
questions and the type of questions you ask automatically filters through and checks off boxes that they didn't
Mm-hmm.
even, you're just,
There's an art to the interview for
there's an
sure.
art to
There is an art.
interviewing.
Yeah, and another thing, you kind of touched on it, but say they don't even ask a question that you were expecting that you think is really important to get across. Like, for
Hmm.
example, okay, I came from medical writing. How does that even relate to the MSL role, right?
Hmm.
Like, why are you coming from this to that? finding a way to incorporate that, even if they don't directly ask you that question, finding a way to incorporate the skills that you had from that prior role into the new role that you're applying for. It doesn't have to be that pointed question. It could be something that you kind of weave in and intertwine it into the answer from another question, if that makes sense. Yeah. So
because they're probably already having those questions, like, well, what kind of things does she do? Like, what does she truly know with medical writing? And then you can just say, well, this, it's funny because I wrote this one article where we went into XYZ, and I found this so interesting with the results of your phase, and now you're bridging.
Right.
And they're like, oh,
she knows things.
She knows things. It's like, okay, you're worried, but like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this is still phase 2.
This is phase 2.
Okay.
So
anything else for phase 2?
I would say, again, you really want to come with questions for them as well.
How many would you say?
I would have like 3 to 5. But a lot of times you'll think of questions as you're in the interview. And so honestly, I think it's great to take notes during the interview. And a lot of times I will ask, is it okay if I take notes? Because you don't want to make it seem like you're distracted. Like if your head's down or you're typing like this, just ask briefly, is it okay if I take notes?
Yeah.
You want to document things that they're saying about the answers they're giving to your questions. But also if they say something, I have found something that I've seen on the interviewer side that is very smart is hiring manager says something and then the candidate brings that piece of information into their question. So you say, oh, you said that I'll be traveling a lot. What territory would I be covering? And maybe that's not the best question, but
you're giving an example of how you're acknowledging that I'm actively listening.
Right. Yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I have follow-up questions to that. And so and they don't have to be like super great calibrated questions. They can be just anything that shows your curiosity. And I mean, again, you're interviewing them as well. So the management style, things like that. But then the bare basic thing is to treat it like it is an interview, because it is. And so that means you're on camera, you're wearing a suit, you are looking nice.
So men should be wearing a suit, or females.
Or females.
Okay, so we're doing it up for this one.
Treat it like a real in-person interview.
Okay.
Yeah. So testing your technology beforehand, making sure that your lighting is good, all those things come into play, especially when you're evaluating candidates that otherwise are like very similar, or, they're all competitive candidates, because you're up against people who have experience in the MSL role, or they are just really good at interviewing. Some people are just like, that's just their thing. They're really good at that. So yeah, that's the hiring manager screening interview. It's like a screen, because the screen is for, okay, who do we want to bring to step 3? So step 3 is typically going to be the scientific presentation. Yeah. So this is where most people will fall through if they've already made it through, because, we've seen the resume, the hiring manager has determined, okay, this person would be a good fit for my team, but can they communicate complex scientific data in a way that they're not rambling, they're sticking to the data, they're not being promotional, they are able to answer questions afterwards. And so logistically, the way that this looks is, it depends on what the topic is. So if they give you an article or, some set of data to present on, maybe it's a recent press release or something that they're focusing on currently, then don't deviate from the topic, obviously. I think that's pretty obvious. But sometimes they will leave it up to you to come up with your own topic. Sometimes they'll say they want it to be a topic of your choice, or sometimes they'll like say within this therapeutic area, and it could just be like really, like for oncology, it could be any tumor type. So that's up to you. And honestly, there are a lot of different opinions on the topic you should present. Should it be something that you're really comfortable with, or should you present the company's data? So that's really up to you. So because remember, the people that you're presenting to, they are expert. Like they literally do this every day. So you want to be careful.
No finessing.
Right. If you're going to present their data, you better know it really well. But at the same time, they don't expect you to know everything. And so that's where the questions, I think the questions are just as important, if not the actual the actual presentation, because after you present, of course, there will be a Q&A session, and they'll just hit you with questions about the data, about, anything.
Like a rapid round of...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, they don't expect you to know everything, but my number one piece of advice is if you don't know, don't guess, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be giving inaccurate information to an SL, and so you definitely don't want to do that in an interview. So, in that case, and sometimes hiring managers will hit you with a curveball. They know that you don't know the answer.
And
just
they're
to see
testing how you handle that.
Just to see how you handle that pressure. Because, I mean, in the meeting that I had today with one of my SLs, I didn't know the answer to a question.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm following up with them, and we're going to meet again so we can discuss that question. Just gives you another opportunity to meet with them. But in an interview, you're not guessing. You are saying, hey, that's actually a good question. Let me look into that, and I'll follow up with you. And so when you send your thank you email, which, yes, send a thank you email and do it by the end of the day, by the way.
By the end of the day?
By the end of the day.
We're talking like midnight or?
Just, the reason why I say that is because I think some hiring teams, they'll, like, you may be the last person who's interviewing, and they maybe have a huddle right after your interview, who they decide who's going to get the offer, right? And so you want to be top of mind for them. And it's really not like, oh, she didn't send a thank you email, that means that we're not going to hire her.
But it's that one, it's like the cherry on top.
Right.
You've made the whole sundae. You might as well
put
the cherry on
top.
top.
And say thank you for your time. But in your thank you email, have the answer to that question, right? So, a well-researched answer, you definitely want it to be the right answer to the question. In some cases, it depends on the company, but most scientific exchange should not occur over email, and it should be via a meeting. And since you don't have the opportunity to meet with the hiring team again, you can say, hey, I know that in this role, I would be setting up a meeting with the SL as a follow-up, but since, this is an interview setting, this is how I would respond to that question in real life. Kind of that after you do this third step and you give the presentation, which is usually followed by a panel interview, I meant to mention, which, again, STAR format.
The panel interview, that's different than the rapid round?
Yeah, so it'll be a Q&A, and then it's most likely within the same call, they'll also have a panel interview where they'll ask you situational questions.
So this still could be virtual, this presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking you're in the room with the people.
No, so since COVID, I've had one interview where I have been flown out to their headquarters to interview, but that has only been one.
Okay.
For the most part, it's all virtual, and it is challenging because it's hard to like really show your personality. But yeah, so I definitely took a tangent there. But so you're giving the presentation. Sometimes you do the panel interview before the presentation.
Okay.
Sometimes it's after. Sometimes the panel interview is even separate, and that's like around 4.
Okay.
So, but I would say the vast majority of the time it's a presentation and a panel interview, and most of the time, when I mentioned the step 3 of the presentation, mostly there are a panel of people listening to you. It's not just the hiring manager.
Okay. So we have we have the preliminary call.
Mm-hmm.
If you do well there, you get a screening with the hiring manager. If you do well there, you get invited to present to the hiring manager and
A
other
panel, mostly.
a panel with people you'll likely be working with at
Yeah,
some
most of the
point.
time it's the hiring manager that you've already met, their manager, maybe someone who's already an MSL on the team, maybe a couple of them,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes maybe someone from like a different group, maybe like medical information or medical strategy,
Okay.
because you also work with those groups as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the third piece could be, it could also include a interview panel that
Mm-hmm.
proceeds after it, or there could be a fourth phase, which is the panel itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Or it could be panel and then presentation is the fourth phase.
Okay.
So I've had it. I've had it both. I've had it all three ways.
Okay.
Yeah, but mostly it's like it's a combined like 1 hour meeting where you present and then afterwards they hit you with questions on the topic of the presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go into those situational questions of tell me about a time when you XYZ, and
Okay.
that's again the STAR format.
Okay. That doesn't have anything to do with your presentation.
Yeah, usually it's independent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long is the presentation usually?
It depends. Honestly, it's usually pretty short, like 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah.
thinking half an hour.
No, yeah, usually it's pretty short. I mean, you're thinking they're interviewing, I mean, I don't know how many people
Yeah.
typically interview for or get to that stage. It depends, but really stay within the time limit. If they say 10 to 15 minutes, do not go over time. And so you need to practice. So I practice in front of my husband, I practice in front of mentors and, current MSLs,
Mm-hmm.
like really practice, get that timing down. Because if you go over time, it really shows that you don't really respect the time of the people you're interviewing with.
Mm.
And that doesn't translate well for meeting with an SL who's very busy, right? So really practice, stay within the time limit, and honestly, just stick to the data. Like, don't try to be edgy. Just present the data and don't try to add any commentary to the data. So you're really just giving a journal club, very black and white. It does not need to be this whole like.
I think.
Right.
This is what
Exactly.
I think.
It's really like you know how journal club goes. Like
Yeah.
introduction, study design, endpoints, results.
Yeah.
Always
Limitations.
always
Yeah.
remember safety. Do not forget safety.
Oh, yeah.
So efficacy is important, but safety, in order to be fair and balanced, you want to make sure that you are presenting the safety.
Yeah.
So, and then your conclusions, and then really at the end, you just give them like 3 main pointers. These are the things that I want you to take away from this presentation.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Like really, I would say no more than 10 slides. So
This is good information. You're coaching people right now.
again, this is just what has worked for me. So,
And then they need to submit that thank you email, and in that email should be any questions that they said that they
you didn't know.
honestly said that they didn't know. Answer those in the email.
Right. And if it's specifically one person who asked the question, you just send a thank you to each individual person on that panel.
Get out of here.
I do, but some people may just send it to the entire group just to see how, because maybe another person on that panel was interested in that answer, but a lot of times it's not really the question and the answer that they care about. It's how you respond.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't guess and you research the answer. And so I typically do not send out a bulk email with all of them, but I guess you could. I think it means a lot more when you
Adds a personal touch.
right, and you can also pull out like specific things, like maybe one of the panelists mentioned something about a piece of data that they thought was interesting, and you can maybe say like you can maybe bring that into your email so that you show like I'm actually paying attention, and I remember that you said that, and I'm following up on that. And it doesn't have to be like a 3-paragraph email. Like make it very short. But,
Yeah.
And speaking of, when you are answering those questions, those like situational questions, tell me about a time when you dealt, I'll go back to that one question, when you dealt with a difficult coworker or maybe like a difficult physician. How did you manage that? Just be very brief. Like don't go on for minutes. Like it really helps the shorter and the quicker you're able to just give them the information, and do not forget the result, because a lot of people will say the situation, the action, the task and the action, but they won't actually say how that result actually impacted that other person or maybe the group of people. That's really important, but you really don't want to ramble. Like be very consistent, be very concise, because really you're going to lose the interest of your interview
And they're
panel.
probably going to see the SL also spacing out while you're answering their questions.
Exactly. So a lot of times they're looking at you and they're like, can I see this person in front of our SLs?
Yeah.
If not, if they really can't see it, if this person is rambling and is not like aware, like you go over time and you just continue to talk, and it really it really shows a lot. Like it really does.
Like, we'd rather not send them out.
Thanks, but no. And again, I'm not an expert. I have been through many rounds of these, and I have found things that work and things that don't. And so one thing I will say, and again, this all goes back to being adaptable and taking feedback and using that feedback and becoming better and not giving up, right? So my very first MSL interview, I wanted to be edgy, right? Like I was like, I don't have a lot of experience, so I don't have any MSL experience.
Were you trying to overcompensate?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, I was just trying to be a little different. So, they said topic of your choice, oncology topic of your choice. And so I did just that, but I created a patient case around it, right? And I said, hey, this is Joe, he's got whatever cancer, and he's looking for new treatment options. And his doctor told him about this trial. And so then I went into the trial. And I was like, man, this is a great idea. Like,
I think so.
Right? So I finished the interview and they are like, have you been told to do this type of presentation before? And I said, no, I just thought it would be good, because I really care about patients. I think that this is why I'm interviewing for the role. And they're like, no, it's kind of promotional. Don't do that. So I got that feedback, and obviously I didn't get that position.
Now they know. Someone's probably like, oh crap, tear it up there.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, well, so really, and honestly, maybe that would work for another company, but the particular company that I interviewed for, they did not appreciate it. And
can you share why that can come off as promotional?
I think that's the direction a lot of the sales colleagues take. If you ever have sat in on a sales call,
I've attended,
they usually do have a patient vignette. And so I didn't really have that experience very much, but now that I know, I took that feedback and I didn't do that again. So
yeah, that is a good point. That is normally how they introduce the patient first, then the drug, then the results. Because
a lot of times they do see you as a sales rep. They say, when are you bringing lunch? And I say, sorry, but I do not bring lunch.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
They've asked you that?
Yep.
Wait, so does that change them wanting to meet with you or not?
No. They just don't understand. They don't understand, because in the sales role, you are also meeting with SLs.
Yeah.
You're just having on-label discussions. In the MSL role, it's on-label. It's everything under the sun, on-label, off-label, pipeline, everything. And so they don't see you. They have a hard time differentiating this person I'm meeting with.
Yeah.
Are they going to bring me lunch? And are they the one who I talk to about buying the drug? Or is it a person that I'm actually collaborating with on clinical trials and having robust scientific discussions as a peer? So sometimes, when you're first meeting them, you have to introduce yourself as, I'm part of the medical affairs team. My role is not promotional. And so I talk about on-label, off-label, competitor data. We can talk about all of it. So
you have to know your competitors' data.
Yes.
Adds another element.
Adds another element.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a dream role, but you don't just get it and chill.
No, you're constantly learning. So if
Yeah.
you don't like learning, MSL role, not for you.
Yeah.
There's
High,
a
high
lot of things.
reward, high reward, but high responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
This isn't like an IT. No, I'm joking.
IT. Hey, we're not hating on IT.
I hate on IT because I have several IT family members. And I'm like, why do you make more than me and do less work?
Why are you the way that you are?
I know.
Michael Scott.
I know. I was watching The Office earlier. That's my show.
It's a good one.
Okay, so I wanted to just leave the floor open with anything else that you think they should know about the MSL role and the interview process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I guess the main thing I'll say is that you most likely will not, if you are applying actively to an MSL role right now, you most likely will not be successful the first or maybe the second go around. And that's okay. It is tough out there. There are people who have been let go from their prior MSL role either due to an acquisition or downsizing. There's a lot of things going on right now. And so there are very experienced people who are interviewing for these open positions. And so I guess I just want to say, be patient. A lot of times it comes down to the right role, the right hiring manager, the right territory, the right timing.
Yeah.
Right? So it really just, you've got to persevere. And I mean, think about the actual role itself. You're persevering. You're not getting meetings, so you have to find creative ways to get those meetings. And same thing for the interview process. You're looking for ways to get the interview. And a lot of times you're not going to get an interview. You've got to get through that screening process, right? And so I don't know if you've heard of the applicant tracking system, ATS, but basically it pulls things from your resume and it tries to match it with the job description.
Yes.
And if there isn't a match,
an AI software. Yeah.
Yeah. And if there isn't a match, like a high match, then you just fall through and you're just not interviewed. No one looks at your resume or anything. So
you need to look at you need to study that position, look for the keywords, and your CV, your resume better have those same keywords.
Right. And not only that, but a lot of times the best way to get through that ATS tracking system or the ATS system is to already have someone on the hiring team who knows who you are so that they can pull your name before it even goes through ATS. So your resume is already pulled out. You've networked with either the hiring manager or somebody at the company. I would say that is the number one thing in order to get past all these steps, all these hoops that you have to jump through, is having someone to advocate for you on the hiring team or someone who is close to the hiring team so that they can advocate for you, and so that when the application window closes, your application is already sitting on the manager's desk or in their inbox, and you're already being looked at, and you don't have to jump through all the because as an external candidate, it's really hard when you are just blindly applying. But if you have someone on the inside who can speak to your skills, especially if they have a lot of influence in the company, like they're a manager, or they could be the hiring manager for that position, or they, work with that group of people, having them to advocate for you is huge. And that's actually how I got my position.
That's important for them to know. And so you matriculated through the company that you were already at, but you had the experience and the qualifications to do the job. What's some strategies for people? Because I know that you're bold at heart, and so you don't mind reaching out to people online that you don't know. So what are some strategies if people are like, you know what, I don't know anybody in the company, but I want them to start to get familiar with who I am before I submit that letter? What are some things they could do?
LinkedIn is your friend. LinkedIn. So if you don't already know someone at that company, so with a school as big as UNC, a lot of times, like if I wanted to reach out to somebody at that company, usually we had a classmate that like works for that company, and I could reach out to them and we could chat. But if you don't know someone personally, LinkedIn, just honestly, you can go into the search bar and say MSL and then enter the company name, and then you'll be able to find people who are on that team, maybe even in that specific therapeutic area, maybe even the hiring manager. I mean, it's not on their LinkedIn profile, it's not going to say hiring manager, MSL, but it may say MSL team lead, or maybe director of MSLs or something like that. Even if they're not the hiring manager for your position, maybe they know the hiring manager and you can just chat with them. So send them a quick message. Say, hey, I'm really interested in transitioning into this role. I currently do this, medical writing, whatever it is. And I would really like to chat with you about this opening that I saw, and set up a call with them. It's awkward at first, but the more that you do it, the less awkward it gets. But truly, networking...
It's what you kind of have to do anyway,
exactly.
So you might as well start
right.
somewhere.
It's a skill, right? Yeah. And again, it's an art. It's really like not, you don't want to send like a super long message, like keep it very brief. And if they agree to meet with you, you are the one who's going to call them. You call them right on time. You tell them what, like you just make it as easy as possible for this person, because they're helping you, right? And not everybody's going to want to help you. Some people are going to ghost you. Some people will say, hey, like, I'm really busy, I can't talk. But there will be one or two people, and those people will completely change everything for you. If you meet the right person who connects you with this person, who connects you with this person, who eventually connects you with the hiring manager, you meet with them, they already know who you are. And so position opens up, bam. You're the first considered, right? So...
And they know that you don't mind reaching out to people you don't know and introducing yourself, because that's how you literally...
That's literally the MSL role, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all have a lot of strategies. No excuses.
No excuses.
And they also have reasonable expectations. So even if they go through the first time, the second time, they shouldn't be taking it personal.
Exactly.
They should be understanding. Most people don't really get it on the first two rounds. That you said you don't have like hiring manager experience, but you have a lot to weigh in on, and you're sharing that like you personally have gone through it several times. And here you stand, but here you sit.
Here you stand. Yeah, I'm pretty comfy
in the role. And you're like you have everything that it takes.
Man, thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Savannah. I think you gave us a lot. You gave us a whole bunch to think about. They know more probably about the MSL role than they thought they did, even for people who were familiar with it. I know I did.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know if I said this, but I'm really new to the role. So there are things that I don't know about. So any MSLs who are listening, if I got anything wrong, please leave in the comments.
But do it with love.
But do it with love, guys. I mean, yes. I know. I mean, there's a lot of MSLs out there. You guys are great. You're killing it. I hope to be like you one day. I'm literally 6 months into this role, so please have grace. But yes, to your point, yeah, we're all learning here, and I really hope that you guys walk away with this with a little more information about the role.
Yeah. And that's just to set like context. It's not to diminish what you've accomplished, because getting into this role is tough. It is tough. And we didn't get to share it this time around, but the reason why, whether you had 1 week into the role, I still would have wanted to interview you, is because you are just so good at being resilient and not letting people tell you no, or circumstances getting in the way of going after what you want. Savannah, as brilliant and bright as she is, she has a story to tell that she was achieving for residency, like all of us were in our program. And when I found out that you did not match, I was floored. because she's such a competitive candidate, and we both went to the #1 school in the country, and you have so much light to shine. It wasn't because you weren't qualified. There were certain things that we found out along the way impact you in the background that basically you have to be considering as you're going forward into the process. And so we're going to take that conversation into another episode. She's going to tell us about the day she didn't match for residency. She actually has an article that she wrote about it.
I do. It's on TLDRpharmacy.com. It's called The Day I Didn't Match for a Pharmacy Residency. And so the next time we talk about this, I'll cover a lot of the information in there. But if you want a little sneak peek, feel free to take a look at that.
Yes, but don't look too much because you have to come back and watch. So she's going to tell us about the day that she didn't match, and then she's going to tell us how she navigated that process, because clearly she navigated it well and she is excelling. And so I'm really happy to highlight your story, and people are going to be blessed by what you have to share.
Thank you.
They can already gauge now that you have a lot of strategic input on things. So she's going to bring that same heat, to that same smoke.
Same fire.
Yes, that same fire to the what happens if I don't match process. And we're also going to talk about how we both were kind of trained up in our programs, the mentors that we had, and the things that they told us to do, and how we were both very strategic from day one. We'll give you insight on what a strong competitive, candidate looks like, what you should be doing, what they're looking for on the residency director end of things. And you're going to learn that it's great if you match, but if you don't,
it's going to be okay.
Clearly. Okay. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for that episode. Stay blessed and stay curious. We are out. You just watched an episode of Pharmacy Pathways, a podcast created to help current and future pharmacists find their happy place in life. I'm your host, DomThePharmacist, and I interview different pharmacists from various careers, asking them the questions you'll likely need answered in order to know if that particular role aligns with your interests, passions, skill sets, and talents. If there's a specific topic or career you'd like to see featured, you can let me know by filling out the audience feedback survey on my website. And if you'd like to be a guest, there's a guest sign-up form on my website as well. Both of those links are in the episode description. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed and stay curious. I'm out.